Hello everyone and welcome to TeamsNation monthly meetup. It's August and just like I was just saying, in Nordics it's usually July for holidays, so some of you are still on the holidays and hopefully are watching this recording later, unless you are in this merry bunch of us today. I missed the last July TeamsNation meetup due to holidays, but it's great to be back here and seeing you all in this one. And we have just Paul joined in. Excellent. Nice seeing the friendly faces here. And we have a very interesting and great sessions coming up today. And over time, yeah, there's my focus. We've had already, I think it's 46 speakers who have spoken in these meetups. And that's really awesome. It's been around 2019, so we are a very well-established group already and kind of network of professionals who share the passion of Teams. And in case you missed that earlier, that there's now Matti and Paul has joined the crew. So we have now 6 organizers in this one. Usually Chris Webb is not here due to the differences in time zone, but he will be taking good care of the US side whenever it's needed. And our meetup group is growing. That's almost 650 members. I didn't check the last hour number, but go ahead and promote that. Let's get that to 1,000. That would be awesome in there. And while doing that, you can be involved. In case you don't know already, you can find us in several places. Okay, we just hit 650. Excellent. Twitter is our main channel, and of course, Meetup is where you find all these meetups. You can go ahead and check the site, but it's mostly dedicated on the conference side, so it's still a bit empty on that one. And feel free to sign up for the speaking in these meetups. We have form there, but you can also just connect with any of us and drop in your suggestion for your session. And our recordings go to YouTube channel as usual, and we are at LinkedIn too. So you can find us pretty much everywhere, including the Instagram, which is not shown in the list. And today, so I don't take too much time from our speakers, I just go through very roughly, very briefly on the TeamsNation 22 roadmap, what's happening for the community conference, and then we have speakers Marijn Somers and Adam Deltinger. Sorry, Adam, this wasn't my best day. With great topics. Yeah. I just take it. It's after holidays, yeah. It's not perfect this time. And the next meetup that's happening on September 20th, so in a month. And Ville and Sean are going to speak there, so just make sure that you sign up for that as well. For the roadmap about what's going to happen with TeamsNation 22 is that we are currently in the ideation phase. So we are ideating what kind of stuff is going to happen there, tracks and everything like that. And that's going to be happening during about 1 month from now. And then we are going to be moving to logistics, thinking about the backend and everything what we need and going forward with the setup. And around that time, we will be releasing the call for speakers. And of course, the call for moderators and start the promotion, which I think means that I will start doing the videos again, or perhaps even earlier, and think about the style and whatever we are doing. And the registration and part, and the great big day is April 6th this time, assuming we don't get anything interesting happening from Microsoft side, like build happening on the same day or something like that. But meanwhile, feel free to check out the Comsverse. I think, Adam, you are speaking at Comsverse too. Chris Hord is speaking there.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So if you are going to Comsverse, you get to meet Chris and Adam there. And then there will be other awesome conferences happening like Teams Dagen. I think you are going to meet Adam there. in person, very likely. Are you going there?
Yeah, I mean, as of now, you never know what happens with the COVID and stuff. But yeah, I'm planning to go there and attend in person. Absolutely.
Yeah. And South Coast Summit, I know Chris Hord is going to be there. Then there's going to be Collab Summits, and there's going to be M365 Chicago, which are going to be M365 Chicago is going to be virtual, I think. And there's going to be lots of other events happening. It's a short list at the moment, but it's going to grow in there. So that's what's going to happen in the future. But today, that's more interesting. I'm really looking forward to become a road warrior with Teams Mobile by Marijn. And after that, we will switch to Adam's session about test publishing in Teams. But Marijn, are you ready?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, of course I'm ready.
Yeah, we are always ready. So just take away the sharing whenever you feel like that.
Sure. Let me. There we go.
Excellent. I
So
can
that
see your
should
screen.
work. And let me have this here so I can see you as well. Good. It's so cool to have 3 screens so I can have my presentation and my slides and the themes. So it all works. Awesome. So I've got a bunch of slides and I'm also going to switch around to my phone. So that's actually the view that you get from my phone. So I can actually jump in there and do all kinds of live demos. So Vesku just told me I've got around 30 minutes, so I killed a few of my demos, so that's gonna be good. So throughout the session, I'll be jumping from my mobile screen back to my slides. If at some point I forget to do that, please call me out and say, hey, Marijn, you're being an idiot, don't forget to switch. So originally, this session was thought of last year, and the idea was, how can you become a road warrior with the Teams mobile app? How can you use the Teams mobile app to take you've got your phone with you anyway. So you're driving to your customers, to your whatever, you're taking the train, you've got time to work on your mobile phone. Then of course, COVID happened. So I think a better name for this session would be like how you can become a work from home warrior with the Teams mobile app. So I still want to show you how you can do all kinds of cool things with the Teams mobile app, and that there are a bunch of really cool things that you can do with the mobile app that you can't do with the proper client app, and the other way around. Yeah. So my name is Marijn Somers. If you heard of me, it's probably because either my podcast Office 365 Distilled together with Steve Dalby, where we talk about Office 365 around governance, user adoption, things like that, just like we're standing in a bar. We're always ending with a whiskey tasting. It's very lighthearted. It's not too serious. So it's fun. And we get to drink whiskey, which is always a bonus. And I also have this series on YouTube together with Jussi Mori around how we can blame the end user for all things that are going wrong. So we have lots of guests there, and that's always fun to do as well. Other than that, I have a little business called My 365 Coach, where I try to help organizations work with Office 365. So user adoption, governance, configuration, those kind of things. Anyway, let's go on. So the agenda for today, I first want to set the stage a little bit, show you what the Teams mobile app looks like if you haven't never used it, or if you have used it. I really want to show what's new, because the Teams mobile app has undergone quite a large transformation in the last few months. So it's really something else right now. Then we are going to talk about chatting, keeping in touch while working from home, how you can manage your teams, And then we'll look a little bit on meetings, because to be honest, what have you been doing for the last 12 or 15 months? It's meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. So I definitely want to show you how the meeting experience looks like in Teams Mobile. And then we can also talk a little bit about what's next for Teams Mobile, if you got a little bit of time for that. So I already said that the Teams Mobile app has undergone quite a transformation. So in the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of new things popping up. One of the things I really love is the Cortana integration. So I can just open up my Teams app and I can just say to Cortana, okay, what are the meetings that I have today? Or just join the meeting, something like that. I don't have to type that in, which is great if I'm, for example, in the car, or if I'm cooking or washing the dishes. I can just say to Cortana, just like, join my meeting, and I don't have to worry about it. There are a bunch of search upgrades. So there are upgrades for the client application, but also for the mobile application. You now have the Meet Now functionality, which was something that we didn't have before, and that was really asked for by the community. And we've got different layouts as well, if you want. Yeah. So it is still your Teams client. It still works like your Teams client application on your computer works. You can still use it to communicate, to collaborate with other people. There are a bunch of customizations, a bunch of extensions that you can download. You can install, for example, shifts, for example, the Viva Insights, bunch of other things as well. And you can still work with the confidence that you're still working in a secure environment, and you're still in that Microsoft ecosystem. So everything you can do there also translates to that mobile experience. Yeah. So let's talk about the application itself. Yeah. So the first thing I really want to show you, and that's something that they haven't changed, something that you can do already for a long time, is if you long press your Teams application, you actually get a number of items. Like, for example, like the top one here is Mark, which is a co-worker of mine. And every time I want to have a chat with him, I can just, what I can do is I can grab this and I can put that on here. So now I've got a quick link if I want to chat with Mark. So I can just click on Mark and Teams will open and it will directly go to my chat with Mark. So I really love that functionality. So if you long press Teams, you've got a bunch of these things, like, for example, new chat or a meeting or search. And these are all things that you can just throw in there so that you've got a quick link to directly jump to something that you're using a lot. So I think that is super useful to have these quick links when you're using the mobile app quite some time. Yeah. So let's open up Teams. So for Teams, I have, oh, come on. Come on. All right, let's kill Teams and let's start again. There we go. So on Teams, I currently have the dark setting enabled. So what you will see in Teams, in the Teams mobile app, is, and I'm also going to open up the chat. So if there are any questions, feel free to type those into the chat. There we go. Okay. So in the Teams client app on your computer, you've got your left rail navigation. So your left rail buttons to jump from your activity to your chat, to your Teams, to your calendar, to your files, to your Viva, to your whatever. If you've never used the Teams mobile app, you will find those on the bottom. Yeah. So on the bottom, you have your chat, your Teams, your calendar, stuff like that. But you see that you've only got a few of these buttons here. So what happens to all the other buttons? Well, they go to your More section. And that More section is like a drawer that you can open up. And here you will find all the other applications that you also have, but also other things. And the fun things that you can do here is you can actually reorder them. So for example, in this for this customer, because Teams is working by customer, for example, I'm not using calling, for example. We don't use the calling functionality here. So what I can do is I can just reorder this, and I can just have my files appear up here, and then calls drops one below. So what I now have is, if I save this, so now I've got that files button here on the bottom instead of the calling button. And the fun thing is that if I now jump from one account to another account, this actually changes. But the fun thing is, of course, here I've got already the files, the files already set up as my last button. But the fun thing is that this is based on the account that you're working with. So if you're like me and you have a gazillion accounts, so if I go in here, you see all the accounts that I'm a member of. So probably if you're a consultant as well, you have the same thing. And the fun thing is that this drawer, this navigation that you have on the bottom, you can set that for every account that you're working with. So if there's one account where you're using, I don't know, some kind of custom application, you can put that in your drawer instead of always having to open up the reorder functionality. Yeah. Now, the #1 feature of Teams Mobile has to be the super fast account switching. So you just saw me, I'm currently in the Ballestra account with my My365 email address. And I can just switch to another account with another email address, just like that. In less than 2 seconds time, I've actually managed to switch the account. Yeah, those are things that you can't do in the client application. So you can definitely do this here. So if you're a consultant like me and you have a bunch of customers, use the mobile app. If you just want to quickly check some things for a bunch of customers, just use the mobile app. It's super fast and it's just, it will save you so much time instead of using the client application. So what else do we have? So if I click on the left top button, we now have your availability, your notification settings, but also your other settings. And if you go in there, you see I also activated the Pride theme. You can set your appearance from light or dark or with your system default. And then there are a bunch of settings that you can do, for example, around your profile, around messaging, if you want to show channels, if you want to have read receipts, if you want to have suggested replies. And suggested replies is also one of the best functionalities that we have in the mobile application. I will show that later on, but it is awesome. So this will just help you do all kinds of things, and it will also help you with notifications. Let me turn on the notifications. Notifications. Yes. All right. Cool. Because in your notifications, you will also find another really cool functionality. Because if you're like me, I only have one phone. It's just my one phone, and it's on me 24/7. It's always with me. Yeah. So I've got a few international customers, and what if the US people try to call me in the middle of the night? I don't want my phone to start to ring. Yeah. So what you can do is you can set up quiet times and quiet hours. So here you can actually block notifications, and you can actually say, okay, from 9 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock in the morning, don't disturb me. And I can also set up quiet days, for example. I can say, okay, Saturday and Sunday, I do not want to be disturbed. Yeah. So those are really cool functionalities that you can set up for your phone or for your mobile device, so that you can actually, have a better, proper work-life balance if you want. So that is definitely a very useful way to do. Yeah. So those are a bunch of things that you can already set and that you can already work around. So you've got the search functionality in there. You've got the Cortana functionality. Let's test that out. What are my meetings this week? And there we got Cortana answering us. So that's awesome. That works pretty well. So yeah, that's a little bit about setting the stage, what we can do, and how the Teams mobile app looks like. Yeah. So those quiet hours that I talked about, there are a few gotchas, like it's based on your device time. It's so if you're traveling to another country with another time zone, and your phone changes time zone, it will automatically change with you. It's set per device, so if you've got 3 phones or 2 iPads, you need to set that for every device. It's not working when you're using the app, so there's a functionality where you can say, okay, if I'm already working on Teams, don't disturb me on my phone. It only works for Teams, so if people are calling you from WhatsApp or whatever, that doesn't work as well. There are settings for incoming calls. And if you chat with somebody and make it an urgent chat, so when you get every 2 minutes for the next 20 minutes, you get an alert, those will still notify you. So those will still come true. Yeah. So this was, the gotchas are coming from a blog post that Tony Redmond wrote, which is awesome. So I definitely urge you to check that out if you want to use the Teams mobile app. All right, let's go to the next demo, is how you can keep in touch with other people while you're working from home. And I want to show you a few things that you can do with the Teams mobile app that you can't do with the real app. So let me go to, let me quickly switch to my own organization. There we go, into my chats, and I can just have a chat with this person, and I can just start typing. That just works. That's something that you know already as well. But what you can also do is you can also click on this little plus sign, and then you actually have a number of things that you can do. Like, for example, do you want to send media? Do you want to take a picture, for example? Now, I've got my mobile phone with me, so I can just go in here and say, look, I want to scan this document, for example, this book. I can just take a picture of that. Yes, that's what I want. Yep, it's done. And I can actually send this image in a chat, because I've got it's my phone. This is a awesome functionality, for example, for when you're working in a factory and you're walking around on the factory floor and you see something that's not right. You can just take a picture with your phone and send it to the person that needs to fix it. This is for me, this is a super nice, because you're not walking around with your laptop all the time, and if you do, you don't want to like switch it around and take crappy pictures with your laptop. So this is definitely a lot better. Now, one other thing that you can do that you can't do on the client app is, let's face it, we're all using WhatsApp, right? I know Microsoft wants us to use the new Teams personal functionality or whatever, but face it, we're all using WhatsApp. And in WhatsApp, you've got this really cool functionality. If somebody sends you a message, you can just swipe to the right to actually reply to that message. Yeah. Same thing you have in the Teams mobile app. So for example, this person asked me to send the Q2 numbers to the managers. So I can just swipe to the right, and then you see that on the bottom, I'm actually answering that question. And I can say that's already done. And then I've actually reply to that message. So this is something you can't do on the Teams app. I heard it might be coming on the new version in Windows 11, but it's not there on the client app yet. So, but that's also a really cool way. If you're chatting anyway, this is definitely a good way to do that. Another really cool thing that you can do, for example, is send somebody your location. Yeah, I know a little business that is sending packages because, let's face it, it's COVID. We're all ordering online, and it's a little company that's sending packages. And what they ask of their people is that every time they deliver a package, they actually have to prove that they were there. So what they do is they just mark their location. So they just send their location. Boom. And you immediately see more or less, because this is not really where I am, but it's let's say in a few hundred meters of my place. So they ask their drivers to, every time they deliver a package, to actually send their location to prove that they were there. Yeah? So I think that's a brilliant idea as well. So back to the slides. So there are a number of things that you can do. So you can swipe right. You have that long hold if you want to mute a conversation. You can quote these things. And I'm also using the speech to text functionality. So I'm not typing in a long message. I'm just talking to the phone with the microphone on, recording it. And you can also use Cortana if you want. So there are a number of limitations. So for example, if you're looking at files, you don't have the support for conditional formatting. You don't have the support for metadata. To be honest, the files experience from Teams in the Teams mobile app is pretty limited. But that's okay. There's a good reason for that, because on your laptop or on your computer, you've got a lot of screen real estate. You don't have that on your mobile device. Your mobile device is pretty small. So you don't have all those whistles and bells that you have on the Teams proper client app. So there's no way how you can do an announcement post. There are no reply options. You can't post to multiple channels. There is a Meet Now functionality, which wasn't there before. You can't do stickers. You can do GIFs, but you can't do the stickers. You can't edit the wiki, which is a very weird thing, but nobody's using the wiki anyway, so that's okay. And the way how they do hidden themes is also a little bit different. But you've got a bunch of extra capabilities. So you've got that super fast account switching. You can also leave voice messages, which is also pretty cool. You've got your quiet hours. The better reply versus new button is something that we don't have anymore. You can just swipe right if you want to quote somebody. And then you've got those easy answers, those quick answers that I already talked to you before. So what that is when a message comes in, you get that notification pop-up, like this person is saying something. And what is happening is that if Teams can actually understand the question that is being asked or the thing that's being said, it will propose a number of suggested replies. And you can see that in the screenshot here in the middle. So if Lloyd asks me if I've seen that message, instead of writing, yes, I did see the message, I can just click on the button, yes, I did, for example, and it will just send that message. So I think that's a super cool functionality, because typing on a mobile phone is not that easy, it's not that fast, not that useful. So this is definitely a better thing that you can do right now. So I really quickly want to show you how you can work with Teams, because we're almost out of time. So if I'm going to Teams, you will actually see the pin channels, so the same pin channels that you have on your client application. You can see all your teams with all the different channels in there. So even if you have like these channel names with these emoji things on, they will be there. You actually see that this 478 administration, this is a private channel, so you actually see those as well. So you see that little lock behind it. So here you see all your teams. So the hidden teams are not shown here. Yeah. So what you want to do, if you want to go to a team from your hidden teams, you actually need to go to see all teams. There you see all the teams that you're a member of, and then you can actually add them if you want, just by clicking on those little bubbles, and then they will also appear here in your teams list. So you can open up a channel, you get this really nice channel setup where you can just reply very easily, or you can add a new message. Adding a new message, same thing as adding a new chat message. You got the same functionalities. So you've got everything that you also have in your default Teams as well. So that's all there. You can also go to your files. As I said, limited functionality, but you will just see your files. You can open up your files, all those things. That all works. It will just open up your mobile Office version. And you can also go to all your other tabs as well. So they will just work in the same way. You can set up your notifications here on top. There's a bunch of things that you can do. You can pin channels. You can add new channels. You can pretty much do everything that you can also do in your client application as well. So if we jump back here, so yeah, you can play around with that visibility of your team if you want to show them, or if you want to hide them. You can create new teams, pin channels, set notifications, all those things that you can also do with your mobile application as well. I see a question from Dwayne Miller. When will breakout rooms be released for Teams Mobile? I haven't tested this out, but they should be available for mobile, like joining a breakout room, not owning the meeting and putting people in the breakout room. You probably don't want to do that on your mobile phone anyway, but joining a breakout room or joining a meeting that will then be broken down in breakout rooms, that should be possible. Haven't tested it out myself, but that's a really good one. I might test that out later this week, but that should be available already. All right, last demo, very quickly to show you the meeting things. You can go to your calendar, you just click on that plus button, and then you can add a new meeting. If it's time for a meeting, you can just click on that join button to join a meeting. And what used to be the case is that you could either see the content that was presented or the chat, and not the two together combined. So you always had to switch around. Definitely in meetings where there's a lot of chatter going on. So that was really, not helpful and really, annoying as well. But Microsoft solved that a few months ago. So if you join a meeting, you actually see this little chat bubble on top. If you click on that one, you will go to the right-hand side, to the right-hand screenshot, where you're actually in the chat, and then the content that's being presented or the people that are presenting are actually becoming a picture-in-picture thingy. So it's actually going to float on top, and you can actually move that around. If you click on that, you actually come back into the content that's presented. So that's I really love how they solved it with your limited screen real estate to actually be able to do this. Now you can also share your own content if you're presenting from your mobile phone. You can actually just say, okay, I want to share something, share a PowerPoint, for example. It will automatically show you all your recent files. You can just take a specific file. It will open up and you can actually show that. If you turn your phone around, you will actually get a nice landscape mode. So what is new for meetings? What has been released for the last few months? Well, we've got the live reactions. So those thumbs up, those hearts, those clapping hands, those things are things that you also can do with your mobile phone right now. You've got the Cortana integration. You can invite distribution lists. You've got the picture-in-picture, so you don't have to switch between chat and your content anymore. There are a number of meeting options that are also there now. You can join breakout rooms, as I said already, but they should be there already. Also, one thing that is super useful, if you're at work, for example, and you're in a meeting, the meeting runs late, and you really need to start driving home or you need to catch the train, you can actually say, okay, transfer this meeting to my mobile device. And then you can actually shut down your computer and actually take the meeting on your mobile phone and just walk to the train. To be really super honest, I also do that sometimes when I really need to take a number two. And I just need to be listening in. I will just transfer that meeting to my mobile phone and just go to take my number two, but I will make sure that the camera is off, of course. So you don't want to have that. I also don't want to have my microphone on. So that's an important thing to do. So what's next for Teams Mobile? Well, there's this walkie-talkie thing that they've been talking about really long. I believe it's coming really soon. We've got some head-mounted devices. Background blur, we've got that on iOS. We don't have that on Android. I don't have a time for that one, a timeline. Same thing with custom backgrounds. I heard it's coming for iOS. I have not heard anything about Android. I checked it before the meeting. It's not there yet, or I don't have it yet. So I really hope that it's coming. So to wrap up, there are a bunch of benefits for every kind of person, for every scenario to really use the Teams mobile app. It's got a bunch of really cool features that you don't have on the client app. It's also missing some features compared to the client app, but that's normal because we're just playing around with a lot less of that screen real estate, so we can't show that much. The best things that you have is the fast account switching. You've got the quiet hours, the share content from your phone because you've got your phone with you all the time. The audio messages, that Office Lens integration, all those things. That's some really, really, really cool, handy features that we have. So please don't do meetings while you're driving. Please wash your hands. Please keep safe and really try Teams Mobile out. You will definitely love it, I'm sure. You will definitely find some nuggets where you say, hey, that's cool. I didn't know I could do that on my mobile. Or this would be super useful. That I can do that on my mobile phone, that I don't have to start my computer, my laptop, and just do it right there and then. So definitely test it out, check it out, and it's definitely a for me, it's a game changer. I'm sure it will be for you as well. Thanks. So let me quickly jump through the questions. How does the app look on an Android tablet? I don't have a tablet with me, March, but I will probably send a screenshot later on Twitter, so you can find me at Marijn Somers on Twitter, and I can just hijack my daughter's tablet to install Teams on. So I can probably do that.
Well, if you're using Teams mobile client on Android tablet, it's looking just the same as on the mobile phone. It's just larger. Yeah, there isn't anything like that, anything different there.
No, but one thing that I did see, so if you haven't been using the Teams mobile app for the last year, so like last year, you had the same experience in a meeting where you would only see 4 people and you couldn't really see the chat, so you had to switch around all the time. They also fixed that for your tablet, so it's the meeting experience is just 500 times better than what you had last year. So that's definitely better.
Yes.
What else do we have? Breakout rooms, as I said, should be there already. You can join a breakout room session. Yeah, but you can't set it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. iPhone. Yeah, there are a number of course, Hans. You always have to be different. That's why I love you. But iPhone definitely has a bunch more functionality than Android devices. So I'm using an Android device, but I see that iPhone definitely has more things like, for example, that background blur, those things. They're always coming out for iPhone first. So that's really cool.
So I also know the difference between there are 2 development teams, and mostly I have to send a bug or something that was over from the names that English people are doing that. But anyway, where is it developed is not a problem, but it do a better job on the mobile function. Thinking I have a picture and you do it in 16:9 from a PowerPoint slide or something, and you put it in, and that will not correct rendered into the normal Teams, and also not in a web browser, but will correct rendered in the mobile thing. So therefore, you see it's different. I can show some GIFs on the desktop version, but I cannot show the GIFs on the mobile version. So sometimes I have to say, okay, the other people are also quicker, and I have to say, hey, I have some GIFs that will not run. Oh, we have to look. If it runs in the other thing, they will implement it very, very fast.
Yes. Just pit those teams out against each other. Always works. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And we will have that in the text when you have 3. We have version 2 of Teams, and it will be very interesting if all the bugs are empty, or if the bugs will completely done in the new one.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I've got high hopes for the new version.
Yeah. Don't we all? But hey, thank you, Marijn. That was excellent. And if any of you have any questions to him, put them to the chat, contact him at the Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. I guess we all have lots of channels everybody can use to contact us. And
if anyone is coming to Comes First, feel free to say hello, grab a whiskey. We'll probably be having a few around. We'll probably have some stickers, maybe some shirts. So definitely come and say hello.
Okay, so you're going to Comes First as well.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's going to be smell like a trouble. There's Adam and you and Chris at the same location. Poor people. Okay, Adam, I guess it looks like you are ready and you are anxious to get started with test publishing.
Yes, exactly. And I'm gonna try Margin's example here and do this session while I'm doing number 2. So no, I'm not. All right. task publishing. By watching this session, you're going to learn what task publishing in Microsoft Teams is, what it can be used for, how to configure it. I will show you. This will be, I would say, 60% demo or something like that, and also, of course, how to use the feature as well. So if you have attended this TeamsNation meetup previously, you probably recognize me or know me. My name is Deltinger. I'm a senior IT consultant from Sweden, working at a company called ITEA. I'm also one of the co-founders of TeamsNation itself and Microsoft Office Apps and Services MVP. Feel free to connect with me on whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter. Both is fine. And some other quick facts about me. I have 3 kids, I have a dog, and actually my girlfriend is a little bit grumpy with me because I never ever mention her at all. So just because of that, for the first time ever, I have a girlfriend. And I promise you, I do not mention her. I just mention her due to this reason, not because I have to tell everyone I have a girlfriend, I promise. All right, if you have any questions during this session, feel free to put them in the Teams meeting chat. Vesku, I'm sorry to ruin your nap, but you're pretty good with task publishing as well. So if you have the time, you can actually answer if there's any questions in the chat. I hope that's okay. So we can save some time there. All right, so task publishing, what is that? It's kind of a little bit of a hidden feature in Microsoft Teams, just because you can't really use it or even see it unless you actually configure this first. And obviously, it's a kind of an admin thing you do. It's an admin that sets this up. So if you're here listening to this and you're not an administrator or something like that, you can just listen in and maybe see if there's any usage in your organization for task publishing, and then kind of transfer this to your administrators or your board or something like that. All right, so task publishing, what is it? Basically, it's the ability to publish and track tasks to teams in Microsoft Teams. And when you do this, you're using a kind of hierarchy model of your organization in order to kind of find the teams you want to publish a task to. And it utilizes the Microsoft Planner app, and it also utilizes the Tasks app in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so it's kind of like a only Teams feature. You can't see anything else. Like when you set this up, you can't work with it or see it anywhere else than in Microsoft Teams itself. And kind of the reason for this is to make sure that important tasks you have within the organization, that they are received, and you can also have the kind of a tracking feature. So, for example, IT can make sure that some team down the line in the organization that they actually receive some certain tasks, and also make sure that they get done, right? Otherwise, you send emails like this needs to get done, and you never really know, did they read it, did they forget about it, and also like what's the status of this task, is it done or not? Okay, so that's the kind of the main reason for using task publishing. And might be a little bit more clear when I talk about the use cases itself. It can basically, there's no rules for this. It can be used for various amount of reasons, right? One common thing is like when we talk about, for example, retail stores. We're a company with a lot of retail stores spread by geographical areas, for example, and it could be restaurants, it could be within manufacturing factories. One common thing though is like when we talk about this, and I also told you previously about like it's from a team's perspective. So when we talk about, okay, we're going to publish tasks, we're talking about publishing tasks to actual teams. So let's say here we talk about retail stores, right? We're in an organization, we have 500 retail stores spread all over the world, basically, or whatever. And for this to work, basically every retail store has their own team in Microsoft Teams. And that's a very common kind of structure you actually do with organizational teams and stuff like that. But just so you mind that. I mean, any kind of frontline worker teams, basically, it goes with the same concept. And you can see if is this how this can relate to your organization and your use cases and stuff like that. So it can also be offices, for example. I'm going to show you an example here I have. So this is an example of a hierarchy, right? This is an example of a very simple, very simple organization. Obviously, it used to be, it's more complicated than this normally, but we kind of see the point here. We have a head office, right? And then we have two branch offices, West US branch office and the East US branch office. And beneath the West US branch office, we have two stores. It's retail stores, one in Oakland and one in Seattle. On the East Coast, we have the Orlando store, and we also have a New York store, right? So at the top of the hierarchy, because I'm going to talk about, because it will make a lot more sense if we talk about, and I explain some of the terminology in task publishing. So the kind of the top of the hierarchy, in this case, the head office, is what we call a root node. Okay, a root node, there's nothing above it, right? We can have several root nodes. I will show you an example in a minute, but that's a root node. And a root node always has some sort of child nodes, basically teams beneath it, okay, departments or offices beneath it in this hierarchy, right? So in this case, West US and East US branch offices are child nodes of the head office, okay? And then at the bottom of the hierarchy, we can have several layers here. We can have, for example, East US could have other child nodes and stuff like that. But at the end, there's always like a bottom of this hierarchy. And in most cases, that will be the retail stores, right? Or all the offices spread all over the world or something like that. So in this case, all the retail stores, Oakland, Seattle, Orlando, New York, there are leaf nodes. They are at the bottom, okay? And one very important aspect of task publishing is that you can only publish tasks to leaf nodes, okay? So you kind of get a sense of if you need to, a big part of setting up task publishing is actually figuring out, okay, how does my organization, what does it look like? How is it organized? And also as well, like what kind of structure of teams do we have supporting this? Do we need to build that? Do we have a current one that we need to build this hierarchy upon or something like that? So there's some planning involved into this. Then we have parent nodes. It's pretty simple because, I mean, East US and West US branch office are child nodes of the head office, right? And that means the head office is a parent node. It's a simple parent-child terminology, right? So the head office is, apart from being a root node, because it's also at the top, it's also a parent node of the West and East US branch office. And as you can see also on this picture here, we can see that the West US branch office is a parent node of the Oakland and Seattle store. And the East US branch office is the parent node of the Orlando and New York store, okay? So basically what this means is that the head office can publish tasks and track tasks to all of the bottom leaf nodes, all of the 4 retail stores in this example, because it's at the bottom, it flows down, right? It's connected, it's a parent node of both the West US and East US branch office. We can also kind of, this intermediary team like West US and East US are, they can also publish tasks, but only to the teams beneath themselves in this hierarchy. So the West US branch office can actually publish and track tasks for their respective stores beneath it in the hierarchy, Oakland and Seattle. Whether the East US branch office can track and publish tasks to the Orlando and New York store. I hope that makes sense. I will actually build exactly this example hierarchy here from scratch in a few moments. So hopefully if you don't kind of get all this terminology, it can be confusing. I hope it will be a little bit more clear in a while. So, I mean, as I told you, I mean, this was a very simple hierarchy, but it kind of makes sense when you kind of want to understand the concept of task publishing. But this picture is actually taken from Microsoft Docs, their own example, basically showing you can have several root nodes as well. So, for example, it could be communications, HR, IT, marketing that wants to make sure and publish tasks down to all the retail stores, for example. It could be maybe HR wants to publish tasks about, the COVID situations, put up posters on all the offices, all the bathroom doors in the office or something like that. So they can make sure to publish these to all of the retail stores they have. And of course, I mean, you can see here, we can have several layers. We can have a lot of different layers. In this case, we have kind of like 2 intermediate layers, the East and West regional office, and the East regional office have a Northeast zone and the Southeast zone, but it basically works exactly the same as I previously described in my example, okay? So just some quick information about this configuration I'm talking about. So you won't see anything about task publishing unless you actually create this hierarchy and you upload it, okay? As soon as you do that, you can start using task publishing. So without actually doing this, and this is basically a simple CSV file you create. And as soon as you do this, this feature will be seen in Microsoft Teams. And only one hierarchy file can be uploaded per tenant. So basically, you can't have several with different kinds of hierarchies for different parts of the organization. So you have to kind of like, make the whole picture and put that into the CSV file, at least for, the teams that are going to be either publishing, tracking, or actually receiving these tasks. Obviously, you can make changes to the CSV file whenever you want to and just re-upload it. It's really simple and changes will take effect immediately. You can also, of course, create another one and just upload that one instead, but only one per a given time. So I'm going to go into a demo real soon. I just want to kind of explain the building stones of this CSV file. So it's built out of like any other CSV file by columns and rows, right, with values in them. So we have 3 columns in the CSV file that we need to have. They are mandatory, and they're called display name, which is basically just the name of the team, the display name of the team you're specifying in this hierarchy. So we need to specify all these teams I had in my example, for example. Then we have a parent name column, which means basically what team is this team's parent. The West US branch office, its parent was the head office, right? So by specifying the parent name, we kind of build this hierarchy out and see like how does they relate to each other in this, okay? And then lastly, of the mandatory column, we have the team ID, which is basically it's the same as the group ID, and you can fetch this in various ways. You can fetch this in the Teams Admin Center. You can do this by PowerShell, Microsoft Graph. You can even do this in Microsoft Teams. I can show you real quickly here in the demos. That's basically just kind of a unique identifier, because as you know, a team or a Microsoft 365 group, which the team is based on, they can have the same names. You can create several teams with the same display names. And I mean, someone might go in, an owner of the team might go in and change the name, so it doesn't break, okay? So you have this unique identifier. So you just put in the unique identifier of the display name column, okay? Then we have 2 other, not columns, because they can be several columns. You can have up to 50 attribute columns. So you use this to add attributes to the leaf nodes. In most cases, you add attributes to leaf nodes in order to help you scope what teams you want to publish tasks to. So for example, if head office wants to publish tasks to all the retail stores about a product that needs to be removed from the shelves, right? And it's a pharmacy product. You don't want to publish teams to the retail stores that maybe don't have a pharmacy department, right? So you can scope here because we add attributes like what team does have, what retail stores have pharmacy departments, for example. And then you can scope this and filter these out and just, okay, these are all the teams in our organization that have a pharmacy department, boom, okay? And I'll talk a little bit more about this when I show you in the demo. And we also have something called a bucket column. So basically, I was telling you about previously that the teams that receive tasks, they use Microsoft Planner. There will be a Microsoft Planner plan created in one of those teams that you publish a task to. That will be created and added as a tab in that team in the general channel. And let's say you publish 10 tasks, and they could have like, some is about COVID-19, some is about removing a product from the shelf, some could be about something completely different. So you kind of want to organize. And if you're familiar with Microsoft Planner, you know that Microsoft Planner uses buckets to organize tasks. So you can already, when you actually publish these tasks, say, okay, because I specified these bucket columns, basically creating buckets for this planner plan, we can say, I want these tasks to end up in this bucket. So they just don't end up in like a single line of all the tasks, like not specified in category wise. So it's making it more clear, making it more simple for the users that are going to actually complete these tasks. All right, so enough. I'm gonna keep on talking, but enough with PowerPoint slides. So I'm actually just gonna share my screen here. I'm gonna do like, I think like this. All right, I hope everyone will see my screen. If not, someone has to scream. All right, so here I have a team. No, I'm in Teams, and I'm logged in with a user that are a member or owner of the head office team. So I was previously explaining about, like, in this sense, you kind of relate to a team as kind of, when you compare to a hierarchy, it's going to be teams as well. Okay, so this head office is a team also. Okay. And it, of course, it makes sense because you're identifying the group ID and stuff like that when you actually build the hierarchy. What I want to say, though, is if it's not a root node and if it's not a leaf node, basically saying you want to publish and create and publish tasks. In order to do that, you need to be in Teams. Okay, and in order to get the task publishing feature, you need to be a member of a team that is specified within this CSV file, the hierarchy, right? So if you just want to have kind of like the East US branch office, you just want that kind of, you don't want to publish tasks from that branch office, or you don't want to track tasks, or you just want to make it more clear when you're actually assigning tasks to teams, that you kind of like want to see the structure and kind of find teams based on, I want to publish tasks to all the East US teams, for example. You don't have to have a Microsoft Teams then for that. The leaf nodes, though, because they're working in Teams with the task itself, they need to be like a real Microsoft Teams team, as well as all the teams you actually want to publish tasks from. All right, so I'm a member of the head office here. If I go to the tasks app here, it looks like normal. I can't do anything related to task publishing at all. So what we need to do is basically start building this CSV file, the task publishing hierarchy file. So I'm basically just gonna go into now my local C drive in a temp folder, and I'm gonna create a notepad. This is Swedish now, but I'm just creating a notepad document. When you work with CSV files, you can obviously also work from Microsoft Excel, for example. I'm gonna keep it really simple here. We can name this later. I'm gonna open this up. So I was talking about the 3 mandatory columns, right? So I'm gonna copy and paste here, because otherwise we're just gonna waste a lot of time with me, you know, with my typos and stuff like that. So we have the 3 mandatory columns, and you separate them by a comma. A simple comma. Okay, we have the display name, parent name, and team ID. I'm going to start from the top to the bottom here now, right, for simplicity's sake. So we have the head office, right? That was the root node. That was the top of the hierarchy. So we're going to put in here on a new row here. I press enter. I'm going to actually just do this a little bit bigger here so you can see. So I'm going to write the display name of this root node, or the top of the hierarchy. I'm going to separate it with a comma, and then we have the parent name. Okay, wait a minute. It's the root node. It doesn't have any parent. And that's exactly how we define a root node. It doesn't have any parent. So by not entering any kind of value in this column here, we define this is a root node. It's at the top of the hierarchy, right? So we're gonna leave this empty. So we're just gonna add another comma, basically saying there's nothing in between these commas for this parent name column, right? And then we're gonna add the team ID or the group ID. All right. So now we defined the head office in this hierarchy. So next, we're going to define the East US branch office and the West US branch office. So we're going to do exactly the same here. I'm just going to copy paste here, so it goes a little bit faster. I'm typing the display name of this team, and then the parent name. I'm going to type head office because, as you remember, I mean, head office was above the branch offices, right? So the parent name is the head office, and then just the group ID of the East US branch office, right? And next, I'm doing the West US branch office, and also the parent name here, the parent of the West US branch office is the head office as well, and then just the group ID. Okay, so far so good. And then we're gonna add the leaf nodes, the actual retail stores. Okay. Right. So retail store Seattle, it's on the West Coast, right? So it belongs to the West US branch office. Okay, so if you remember the hierarchy I showed you in the image, it was under the West US branch office, and the team and group ID after that for the retail store Seattle. And then the same Oakland is also on the West US branch office, it's on the West Coast. So the parent name there is the West US branch office as well. When it comes to the New York and Orlando, they're on the East Coast, right? So they belong to the East US branch office, both of them. So I specified the parent name for both these retail stores to be the East US branch office. And of course, just add the group ID of the stores themselves. All right, so this is it. Like, we actually built this hierarchy out. Now I can actually go publish this now, okay? But we're gonna add some more information here, okay, to make it a little bit more neat. And I was talking about the attribute columns and the bucket columns, okay? So we're gonna create an attribute column. So we're gonna add this column here. So I'm gonna separate this after team ID. And I'm gonna add something, for example, called size. There's two different kinds of attribute columns, attribute types, I would say. Those are mutually exclusive and those that are not. By mutually exclusive, I mean, for example, we want to specify, I want to publish tasks, these kind of tasks, but only to the retail stores that are, you know, that are a little bit bigger because they, you know, they have many more departments that the other ones that are small. It doesn't make sense to publish these kinds of tasks to our smaller retail stores. So a size is a real good example of this. It's mutually exclusive. It's either big, medium, or small, right? It can't be all of them. So we can actually just, what makes sense for your organization, you can create these attributes. It could be whatever, basically. In this example, I'm just going to write size, and to me, I'm going to do a big S to make it look a little bit better. All right. So now I can, it makes sense only to do this on the retail stores because those are the teams you're going to actually publish tasks to. Those are the only one you can actually publish tasks to. So I'm just going to put a comma here. So it basically say after the team ID here, I'm going to specify the size of this retail store, and I'm going to put in, for example, I'm just going to use 2 in this case. We can have medium, we can have small, we can have super small if you want. So I'm going to do this small here, for example. I'm going to do this big again, and this retail store over here is small. All right. So now I have kind of put this attribute value for each of my leaf nodes, my retail stores. Then we're going to kind of have add an attribute column that actually a few that are not mutually exclusive. And a very good example of that is departments, right? So we're going to take a shelf off a dairy product off the shelves. And we want to make sure that we don't publish tasks that, you know, doesn't make sense because those retail stores doesn't have a dairy a dairy department, right? So it can be, you can have a dairy, you can have a pharmaceutical department, either one of them or none, right? So they're not mutually exclusive. And to make this easier, we define those kinds of attributes columns a little bit differently. So of course, we're going to create a new column. So we press a comma, and then we type out, for example, department, could also be whatever, what the name of the attribute will be, department. And then we're going to specify the values directly in the columns. So we're going to put in a colon and then the value. So for example, here, I'm going to actually copy paste some here, so it goes a little bit quicker. So I'm actually going to add 3 of these attribute columns. We're going to define one that's called, the attribute name is department, and we're going to separate it with a colon and then add pharmaceutical. Okay, so now we can basically mean that we can filter all of our teams, all of our retail stores in all of our organization based on what departments they have. Obviously, we have to add a value to the actual stores as well further down. But we have a pharmaceutical department, then separate it, create a new attribute column. Then we have a department children's wear. Okay, we make it simple. We just add those 2. You can have up to 50 attribute columns in a hierarchy file. Okay, so how do we now kind of define the values of these for our retail stores? Since we already kind of like put out the values here in the column here, so what we can do is basically either say this is going to be true or false, and we use simple binary, 0 or 0 for false or 1 for true. Okay, so we say here department pharmaceutical on the Seattle store here. We're going to separate it, so we go over to the department pharmaceutical column here, and we're going to say, for example, we're going to say 1. And does it have a children's wear department? Yes, 1. The smaller store here, they usually have, they don't have a pharmaceutical department, but they do have a children's wear department. And we're going to do the same here just for simplicity's sake. 0.1. So the Orlando store does not have a pharmaceutical department, but it does have a children's wear department. Okay, we're almost done, I promise. We're just gonna now add some buckets to this planner we're gonna publish when we publish tasks. Okay, so we're not gonna define anything here because it has nothing to do really with the leaf nodes itself or the retail stores itself. I just want to kind of like pre-create the buckets for the planner we're actually gonna, publish these tasks to. So by doing that, we just add a bucket column or several bucket columns. So I separate it with a comma, and you define a bucket column by putting a hashtag in front of it, right? So this just defines, okay, this is a bucket column, okay? And then we just add, we can add 3 here actually. We add a hashtag COVID-19 bucket, a children's wear bucket, and a pharmaceutical bucket. The hashtag won't be seen as a bucket name. It will just define this as a bucket column here right now. Okay, so now we're actually done. Okay, we created this hierarchy of all the teams. We created some attributes we can actually filter on, as well as pre-created some and defined some actual planner buckets as well. So we're ready to actually publish this. I'm just gonna put in everything, so in case I did a typo, I can just close this now and save it. And I'll change the name of this now because it needs to be a CSV file, and you don't want it to be, it's in Swedish, it's saying new document. We don't want that. So we're just going to call this very simply TP for task publishing, and we're going to change the file ending to CSV. Boom. You want to change the file ending? Yes, I do. Okay, so now this is ready for publishing, or uploading basically, and you do this with PowerShell. And I know, don't be afraid of PowerShell. This is really easy actually. So you do this with a Microsoft Teams module, And it's really, you just do install -module Microsoft Teams. There is some great guidance online Microsoft have to how to install the Microsoft Teams module. It's very, very easy to do, basically. So I've already done that. And when you've done that, you connect to this module. No, connect to this module by typing in connect Microsoft Teams. I'm just going to log in with my account for the tenant I'm using. All right, so this is really, actually, it's very simple. So what you do is you put in set dash and team targ, and then you can actually just tab it, team targeting hierarchy, okay? And then you do dash, and you're going to specify the file path of the actual CSV file that you're going to upload. So you're going to file path, and you're going to see it's on my C drive. It was in my temp folder, right? And we named it tp.csv. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, you get a key and a value here. It doesn't say much. So, I mean, it's very important that you actually configure the CSV, right? That there aren't any typos. So there's actually a very valuable command you can run, and you should run every time you do change or upload this CSV file. It's get team tar, you can tab it, get team targeting hierarchy status. Boom. All right, so now you get some more information. You get the status and it says successful. And there's an error message here. It doesn't say anything because it's successful. You can see that when it was last updated and who was last modifying it, the ID of that person, and the file name of the CSV file itself. I'm just going to quickly actually, and I can actually now show you how easy it is to change this. I go into here and press edit on the CSV file. I'm actually going to put in a typo or like a mistake here. I'm going to put in a 3, and remember it's binary. It's either true or false, 0 or 1, right? So 3, you can't put that in there as a value for a department. So I'm going to put it in 3. I'm just going to save this, and I'm actually just now going to upload this again. So I use the same command once again, set team targeting hierarchy, specifying the file name and the path. Boom. Okay, it doesn't say much. I'm going to run the get team targeting hierarchy status. And now it says failed. And as you can see now here, it actually shows you very well the error message itself. The attribute value in column row 8 has an invalid value type. Fill in with any of the following values, 1 or 0. And it's really good at finding the mistakes and actually telling you what the mistakes are and where they are in the actual CSV file. If there was some, if all of the PowerShell modules or commandless has good error messages like this, I would be very happy. But it actually does a really good job telling you what is wrong. So we know what's wrong now, obviously, because I did the mistake. So I'm actually just quickly going to edit this file, put this back to a 1, save it. And once again, I'm just going to upload it again, make sure it's successfully uploaded. And there it is. Now it's successfully uploaded. All right, so we're done. It's uploaded. We created the CSV file. Now we can actually start using this. So for all the teams that are actually part of this hierarchy that we defined, members and owners of these teams, they will see it. If I'm a part of another team that isn't really part of the task publishing hierarchy, I will still won't be able to see anything related to task publishing. But I told you before, I'm a member of the head office here. So if I actually go down to the Tasks app now, look at here. I can now see the Published List tab in the Tasks app in Microsoft Teams. So what I can do now is basically create a list here. A list is just basically a container of tasks you create and you publish them. You publish a list at the same, like you publish a list, and the list can contain one or many tasks, okay? And those tasks will be published to this pre-created, or for the first time you publish tasks, that time it will create this planner plan in those teams you publish the tasks to, okay? So you can create a list here. I can give this task list a name. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna put in important tasks, okay? And then you can see here, published from, okay? And depending now what teams you are a member of, that also determine where you can publish from. So in this case, I'm only a member related to this hierarchy. I'm only a member of the head office, right? So I can only publish from the head office. If I also was a member of the East US branch office, I would also be able to select a team, the East US head office here, to publish tasks from that team. Okay, so I can choose anything else than head office here. I press create, and now I can actually start creating tasks. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly here create 2 tasks. And as you can see here, you can put in priority, urgent, medium, important, or low. You can put in a due date. We can do, I mean, that was already passed. We can do a priority. And here, look at buckets. What bucket do you want this task to be published to or end up in, basically? And you see the buckets I created. And this is created just because I added these bucket columns in the CSV file. So this is, what is it? It's a pharmaceutical.
Peter diktiert seinem Computer ein.
Sorry? Can you repeat that? Was it a question or something? Error?
I think it was a mistake.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so we put this in the pharmaceutical bucket in Teams. So we'll see how this looks like. And I can, click here, and now I created this task. I can just quickly create another one, so we have more than one. It's a little bit more fun. And I can just create this and actually add a bucket to it as well. I can click into these tasks. I can, of course, change all these I previously showed you. Add a start date as well, add a due time. I can put in notes, just do it, for example, and I can add checklists to these tasks if I want to do that and put in more granular information, and also as well add attachments to these tasks. Okay. All right. So I just created now 2 tasks, and now I want to publish them. I can click up here and click on publish. So I do that, and we can select teams from a hierarchy. And this is basically, now we're gonna see the result of our CSV file. This one over here, it's pretty new. If you have a lot of different teams, and you can specify these teams instead of selecting them via this kind of like a graphical chart, you can do that. But we're gonna use this select teams from a hierarchy. Now look at this now here. If we can see here, we can maximize these, and you can see this is the exact hierarchy I was actually just created. You can see the head office at the top, then we have the 2 shell nodes here, the East US and the West US branch office, and under the West we have the Oakland and Seattle store. Under the East we have the New York and Orlando store, and we have some filters here. Size, okay, I want to publish to the big ones, the big retail stores, or the small ones. And I mean, you can create whatever attribute columns you want, and you can name them whatever you want, and you can fill in the values whenever you want. That relates to your organization, right? These are just examples. Departments, okay, well, these are pharmaceutical related. Remember that was remove Hort's aspirin from the shelves. It's not a good product. So we just want to publish these to the retail stores we have. All the retail stores that have a pharmaceutical department. So I can just click this, and now I will see there's 1 retail store in the East US branch office and 1 in the West US branch office. So I can just select all of them here. So there's going to be 2. I'm going to publish these 2 tasks too. We click next, and I see kind of like a preview. It's 2 tasks I'm going to publish, and I'm going to publish these to 2 teams. Okay. And ready, everything looks good here. Okay, publish. All right. So now here I can see that it said it takes a while, but it's pretty small here, not many tasks and stuff like that, and it's not many teams I'm going to publish them to, so it goes pretty quickly. All right, so I have 2 tasks here now. I can see they're published. If you look at the left-hand side column here, you can see published, and there's my list of tasks I've just published. And go in and edit this task list. Okay, if I click edit list, and you can read up here, it says you can add or delete tasks in edit mode. In the future, you will be able to make changes to existing tasks and publish those changes too. So Basically, it's a limitation on I can't go in on a published task and change anything. You see, it's all gray. I can't do anything. What I can do in edit mode is I can add further tasks that are going to be published as well. Okay, I'm going to cancel editing mode like this. So what if I've done something wrong here? I need to do everything. I mean, everything from scratch. What I can do is basically unpublish a list. To do that, I just click the 3 dots over here, the ellipsis, and choose unpublish. Okay, then I can delete the tasks, I can create new ones, I can edit the tasks, but I can't really publish and unpublish lists. When it's unpublished, I can't do anything about it other than I can duplicate it, right? So I can duplicate the list just to add some more, add some more tasks to publish to other teams. Or if I need to redo anything I've done wrong, I have to, what do you call it? Not like undo the publishing and actually duplicate it. As you can see here, I'm gonna call this important task 2. It's from the head office, and I'm gonna duplicate it. Unpublished was the word I was looking for. Okay, so you say here it's in a draft mode. I don't need to do any changes here, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and publish this again. And when you unpublish, all the tasks from the planner gets removed as well from the end notes and the leave notes, so to speak. I'm going to do this again. The pharmaceutical, I'm going to publish them to again. I'm going to select all these that are having a pharmaceutical department and click next. I'm ready, I'm gonna publish. So I kind of like did it all over again. But that's how you work with like editing tasks, and you need to unpublish task list in order to actually work with the tasks and redo the tasks themselves. Okay. All right, so let's go to another team. And you can see here now, I'm a new user here, and that user is a member of the East US branch office. Okay, that's kind of the intermediate team. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go to the tasks app again here. And you can see here I have a published list because I'm part of this. That team is part of the hierarchy and I'm a member of it. So I can now see published list in the tasks app. Okay. And you can see here now I have the received. That means like it flows down. So because I'm responsible of at least one of those teams that we just published tasks to, I can now actually see the tasks that they are published to. So if I go in and click here, I can actually see the tasks, and if I go up here to the right, I can click Teams, and I can see that, oh, these tasks are published to the retail store New York. I can't see the other team because the other team was published to the West Coast, and I'm in the hierarchy. It's part of the West US branch office. I'm not a member of that. If I was a member of that, I would see both of these teams here and all the tasks I published. But since like I'm a part of this kind of hierarchy on the East US branch office side, I can only see the teams below me, what tasks are published over there. So as you can see here, I can track this. It's not very advanced, but I can see, okay, team-wise. Okay, the the retail store New York, how much of percentage has been assigned to these 2 tasks, okay, and how big percentage of them has been completed. I can also click the tasks tab over here to see on the specified tasks themselves, the status of them. So you can see here now there are 2 tasks that has been published, and the percentage of the assigned on this specific task itself and the completion status as well. So, for example, if there was if I could see tasks from several teams, I could both see them on a per team basis and on the overall tasks themselves among all the teams that this particular task has been published to. I'm going to switch a view again here, and now I'm a new user here. And as you can see here, I'm a member of actually all the retail stores in this case. So this is basically leave notes, right? These are the actual retail stores that we publish these tasks to. So I'm going to go into a team here, for example, Orlando, because I think we just published to this team. And you can see up here now, there is a tab that has been added called tasks, okay? You can rename this because the actual plan is called published plan, I think, and you can't remove the plan itself. You can't do that. Okay, if you try to, it will just give you an error message. What you can do is remove the tab itself and re-add the tab and then rename the tab or whatever if you want to do that. If we go into here, you can now see, I think I did not publish. Let's say try New York instead. I think we published that to, yeah, that was wrong team. You say new changes. If we click the activity tab, we can actually also see we get notifications in Teams natively. We can see admin sent the task list. You can also see when a task list has been recalled and stuff like that. Okay, let's go back to the team, go into the actual planner plan now. And you can see here's the buckets, and we've specified these two that they're going to end up in the pharmaceutical the bucket. And now the manager of this retail store, for example, have the responsibility to basically assign, they can assign people to this task. Okay, I want, Emma to do these tasks, and we can, set the progress to in progress or completed. We can't add a label, for example. We can add comments to this, okay? So we can have an internal discussion within the plan itself or our team about like progress and stuff like that. We can't alter the notes, we can't alter the checklist or add any attachments to this, okay? Because it was published from head office, they determine like don't remove our notes and stuff like that. But you can add comments and you can work with the progress priority and you can assign someone, okay? You can't assign people to a task list when you publish them because you don't really know in that stage what teams you're publishing to, and hence don't know what members are of those teams, okay? But those are the kind of manager's responsibility. If you have someone else, a worker in this retail store saying, oh, there's a task that has been published, I'm gonna take that, so I'm gonna assign this to myself, and I'm actually gonna do completed, and it's been assigned, so yeah, it's all good, it's all done. So if we go back to the head office team, and we're actually gonna refresh this now. It can take a little bit of time, but we're actually gonna see progress here now when it comes to tracking. Oh, you can see, okay, contact reseller, local resellers and cancel orders, assigned 50%. And 50% is because we in this task list, we had two tasks, right? So it's one of them is assigned. It should be completed as well here, 50%. We'll see if that updates soon. And you can also go in on the Teams tab itself to see how is it on the team, because we publish these to two teams, and the head office at the root of the hierarchy, so they can see all the teams and the progress of all the teams we published these two tasks to. So we can see here per team, we can see the New York, that was the one I was working with just now and completed a task in. We can see we assigned it one of the tasks, so it's 50% in this sense, okay? I'm gonna go check here. I did complete it. So it's actually gonna, sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to actually propagate here. So it should do that very soon. One thing I just also wanna add here and talk about is you can click here at the ellipsis at the top right corner here, and you can get some information about it. But there's also, if you look at get help with task publishing, there's a little like icon over here, am I enabled for publishing? If you click that, that will actually run a few tests. If you're not certain what teams am I part of, how do I belong in this hierarchy, why can't I publish tasks, why can't I track tasks, why can't I receive tasks? So I can just run this check, and it will actually check the hierarchy file, check your membership, and say, okay, can I receive published lists? You're not part of any teams in the hierarchy that can receive lists, because it's just the lead nodes that can receive lists, okay? So there, for example, I can say, oh, that's why I can't receive published lists and work with them from Microsoft Planner in my team, because I'm a root node. Okay, so you can see here, there's a few different tests it runs. So it's a very good tool to use if you kind of get lost, like, okay, why can't I do that, or why can't I do that? Just use that tool. Okay, I'm gonna see here, I don't know if it's updated yet, but that's basically how it works. You set up this hierarchy file, you can work with it, you can track the task, and the leaf nodes itself, the actual retail stores, restaurants, offices, you know, whatever it is that relates to your company or your organization. They can work with this from a Microsoft Planner perspective. Okay, I don't know what this. It takes some time. Sometimes it can take a couple of minutes to actually update the actual tracking, but it do work. It does work. All right, so I'm actually gonna jump out to my finishing slides here, and I'm gonna pick this. I'm gonna do this. All right, just quickly some more details. This was a very simple example I just showed you to kind of explain that further on. You can have up to 15,000 nodes in a hierarchy file. Okay, and Microsoft is working to actually improve these numbers as well. But up to 15,000 nodes in a hierarchy file. And as I told you, you can have several root nodes. You can have several like head departments, IT, marketing, HR, head office, whatever it is. You can have any team can have up to 25 of these parent nodes. And the way you add them in the parent name column, where we specify the root nodes or the parent nodes, you're just gonna separate them with a semicolon instead, and then add the display name of the other root nodes you want to add. And you can add up to 25 of these in a hierarchy file. Okay. And as I already mentioned, you can specify up to 50 attribute columns as well. So you can kind of build out a really comprehensive filtering as a function to use when you to decide what teams or what stores or whatever it is you want to actually publish certain tasks to. And an important note is that when you build this team, you can only reference a team once in a hierarchy. So you can't, like, if you try to put in, you know, the same team or group ID twice in a hierarchy, it will fail because it could create loops, you know, if you try to, you know, you do mistakes and stuff like that. So to make this not happen, Microsoft does not support that a team can be represented more than once in a hierarchy. All right, I hope it made sense. There's a lot of information here. Thank you so much for attending my session. Resources, I can actually put them in the chat right after here. It's Microsoft Docs, the official documentation for task publishing, as well as I actually wrote a blog post on my my homepage that basically references the exact same scenario and the exact same examples I showed you in this session. So it's a really good way if you're like, oh, wow, what was he talking about, or how did he do that? It's in written form, and you can actually see what I've done here today reading that blog post. And of course, get in touch with me once again, connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. All right, so thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, there was one question from Hans, basically, if there are any changes, new offices, new departments, you do an override with PowerShell. And I replied already that yes, you have to update it, you run to PowerShell. And I think you still can have only one hierarchy file.
Yeah, that's correct. And yeah, you use PowerShell basically to just run the same command again and just do a set team targeting hierarchy and update it with the latest changes done in the CSV file. You can also remove the whole hierarchy by entering remove-team targeting hierarchy, and that will remove everything and remove all references to team task publishing from the Teams client as well. Basically, the task publishing tab in the Tasks app in Teams. I'm gonna put in the links also in the chat for reference.
Okay. And all right, thank you, Adam. That was a great session. You get lots of praises from in the chat as well, and it was really a pleasure to follow up what's the latest, what's the news, like the uploading the list of target teams from an Excel file, because I haven't personally looked at for a while now. So it's great to learn something new. I think you can edit the checklists and stuff like that already as well these days there. Yes, that's a great session. And to wrap up, I think this was one of the longest meetups we've had.
All right.
We had 2 great sessions, and that's how it happens. We have some great questions as well. So, but hey, this is a community, so it's really great to have these, and these can be really helpful. I think at least a few persons really kind of learned something new and got to see new possibilities what you can do with Teams. And just this was just a reminder, like get involved, the same links I had before, and of course a reminder about our next meetup. Let's meet there in a month and have another great session, 2 sessions there, and chatting and questions.